When it comes to communication, leaders are always learning new techniques. And one of the most important, but also one of the least understood, is the power of being impolite. Now, leaders aren't necessarily policemen, and policemen aren't necessarily leaders. However, this next short sketch, I think, will outline what I mean quite well.
Okay. So do you know what? Let me see your driver's license.
What was I doing?
I'm not going to ask you again, or I'm going to put my hands on you. Let me see your driver's license.
As power struggles go, you don't get much more black and white than a cop trying to do his job when an entitled teenager literally rides roughshod over traffic laws.
What have I done that makes me rude?
The traffic cop has been coached to use a mild but decisive form of rudeness to maintain authority throughout this interaction. And boy, does it work.
The reason I stopped you is you were in a 35-mile-per-hour construction zone at 55 miles per hour.
Hi, I'm John Firth, and for 35 years I've been a strategy consultant, a CEO and partner at a consulting firm, and a coach for small and medium-sized business owners and operators. Today we're going to talk about communications, the kind of communications that ensures that you have a place of power and authority regardless of the situation. As a coach and consultant, I always had to be walking a thin line. On one hand, if I was differential, I ran the risk of not looking very powerful or not having a lot of authority. If I was too forceful, I put the relationship at risk. And like everything in life in high-stakes environments, there's never, ever a clear path to a good balance. And when I became a partner at a consulting firm, and later a CEO, I discovered that these very highly political environments required a certain amount of finesse, to a point. And then the gloves came on, and you had to be tough to reaffirm your power and your authority. And that's what it's all about. It's about strategic impoliteness used at the right moment to restore your power, your authority, gain attention, and respect. Let's look at the cop again.
Let me see your driver's license.
What was I doing?
I'm not going to ask you again, or I'm going to put my hands on you.
He's not emotional. He's not trying to be liked. He invites no ambiguity, and there is no debate. And he creates enough discomfort to reset control.
What have I done that makes me rude?
That isn't personality. That's technique. So let's define what we mean by being impolite. Impolite does not mean sarcastic or disrespectful or demeaning. Being impolite means you're dropping certain social norms and conventions to make yourself heard. You stop managing feelings and you start managing reality. I've had some very good bosses, and most of them knew how to use this tool very well. I had one boss, for example, who always seemed to be standing at a secretary's desk looking at something quite intently when I had something what I considered to be important to tell him. He usually ignored me until I got the message. It meant that there was a time and place for everything, but he had to focus on what he was doing at that moment. If I just waited a few minutes, I would have his full attention. There was another boss who grew up in the South, so she was basically extremely aware of social conventions and was very polite and really very nice until those moments when she wasn't. For example, I had organized a conference call, and in the middle of the call, she realized that there were people on there who should not have been. It was a very sensitive topic, and she basically turned around and screamed at me to fix the situation. Again, I was hurt at the moment, but then I realized that she was right, and I needed to fix the situation because I was actually the one in control. And here's where most people make the mistake. Leaders are trained in being collaborative in terms of inviting opinions and thoughts and finding a way to facilitate all that. That works a lot of the time, but in certain situations like emergencies or where clarity is needed or where a team is very confused and it's going to turn on you very quickly, those are the moments where you have to be impolite. You have to take control of the situation regardless of whatever social norms you think you should have been following, and just tell them the way it is. This is not time for facilitation. It is a time for leadership. Don't ask, tell. I want to give you another client story. He was about to have to fire his first firing of an employee, and it made him very nervous. He was afraid the organization would take it the wrong way. In other words, he was more concerned about being liked than respected. So the way he dealt with it was to make it very clear at a team meeting with a presentation that there are certain expectations of performance. both in terms of values and in terms of actual work performed, and certain KPIs that everybody is asked to perform or to take care of. This employee had not. To his astonishment and surprise, the team took it very well, and they were suddenly energized and excited because there was clarity. This is not about being rude for the sake of it. It's about achieving clarity and using sharpness when necessary. So next time you find yourself softening your image or your tone, pause and ask yourself, am I more interested in being liked or more interested in leading? Because most of the time, you don't get the chance to optimize for both.